150 guns were brought and seized on K-12 campuses. 1,150 guns. We take away everything that these children could have accomplished. The children that have lost their lives. We strip them away from their what-ifs and their could-have-beens. Their prom, their graduation, their wedding, all because we'd rather protect our guns than our children. But why? We take away everything that these children could have become. But we also leave the parents with endless suffering. Every year we celebrate the birthdays of our loved ones. We celebrate another year of growth, another year of experience, and another year lived. But for some families, they mourn the fact that their child will forever stay the same age. How many children are we willing to lose before we want to change? Even on January 1st, we make resolutions because we aspire for that change. Whether it be a new diet or breaking bad habits, we all want to change. So why aren't we working towards this change? Why are we neglecting this evident problem right in front of us? Because it's not us. That could never happen in our town with our loved ones, right? Every day, a small part of you is glad that you're seeing this happen on the news, on social media, rather than right in front of your eyes. No parent should have to witness or be described of their child's last breath. So why does this happen? Because of 22%, the estimated percentage of U.S. gun owners who have bought their firearm off the black market. This translates to millions of American citizens using and owning unauthorized guns, doing who knows what. There are endless possibilities, problems with no apparent solution. But even if we don't see it at first, there is so much that we can do. Restrictions such as universal background checks and community-based learnings are ways that we can raise our voice for our children. So we can feel safe sending them to school. And they can feel safe learning and growing, just like Dylan Hockley was supposed to do. Dylan Hockley might remain 6 to the rest of the world, but he is still growing inside the hearts of his loved ones, full of new experiences. Nicole Hockley, the co-founder, the CEO of Sandy Hook Promise, because this proves that any change that we can implement is a step in the right direction, whether it be big or small. She is aspiring for that change. She used to call her son a beautiful butterfly. She was the mother of Dylan Hockley. Dylan was autistic, and whenever he got excited, he would flap his arms. She asked him why he did this, but all he had to say was because he believed that he was a beautiful butterfly. There's a saying that goes, one butterfly flapping its wings can cause a hurricane halfway across the world. And she believed that if one butterfly could cause this much, imagine what would happen if the millions of Americans who truly cared about the prevention of gun violence could do if they simply chose to flap their wings too. We could create thousands of hurricanes of change.
Okay, thank you so much, Steve. Judges, do we have any
questions?
Yeah, if you look at the world, United States is where the United States is one country where you have a lot of guns. And if you go to other countries, you don't see that much of prevalence of guns. The people who are fighting for gun rights, they're using their Second Amendment, and they say that we have a right to bear arms. And then they also claim that guns don't kill people. Guns don't kill, but the people use the guns kill the people. Now, one of the challenges that you talked about illegal guns, and guns stolen or misplaced, and they just file off the serial number and then they sell it in the illegal market. How do you think we can prevent those illegal guns being used against people, especially children?
I think by trying to implement as much as universal background checks and really getting into the nitty-gritty things about a person can say a lot about the situation. Because while they do buy these guns off illegal websites, they can obtain it very easily. We've seen that with the Uvalde school shooter who has bought his gun, his AK-47, a week prior to the school shooting at Robb Elementary School. And he got it so easily, and that really says the big problem about buying your gun off the black market or anywhere else, because they don't go through enough protocols when you're obtaining that firearm.
But the challenge with background checks is that, depending on what states make the laws for the background checks, and even if you have for an illegal gun, there is no background check. Have you considered biometrics, for example, with the finger, the thumb, and you're able to make sure that the person who is not the legal owner of the gun can use that gun, so that way that can prevent. Have you thought about biometrics, use of biometrics in gun licensing?
I have not thought about that, but I will definitely, because that seems like a way that we can actually prevent these things from happening. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
There was some thought before that actually made me very, very nervous. And it's the thought of arming the teachers. Actually giving teachers guns. It's a very interesting point because we're trying to reduce gun use. So how would that play? You are trying to diminish the use of guns and violence for guns use. And then you're thinking about giving the teachers guns to defend or to work with them. I have a lot of hard feelings about it. And when it came in the news, I thought, being a retired teacher, I think that it would promote chaos. What are your thoughts on that?
I think arming the teachers might be a bad idea because while those teachers have credentials, you don't actually know what type of person they are. And what if they use that gun to hurt those children? Because they have it on them in that classroom and they could do whatever they want with it. So it definitely strikes as a problem, and I do believe that it's not a good idea.
Okay, thank you so much, Sahiki. So Sahiki was actually first to go today because of her unmatched dedication to Inspire. She now has a dance performance to go to.
Oh.
But great job. Thank you so much for showing your passion on this topic. And it's truly left an impression on all of us. So first, before we continue, we would love to give our judges a very warm welcome once again. And we do have a little bit of an Inspire welcome, so if you guys want to make your way onto stage for us. Thank you so much for being here today. We truly appreciate it. Okay, so Next up, we have Soumya Anand. Soumya is a sophomore at South Brunswick High School, where her love for art and writing has allowed her to express her creativity through these art forms and the speeches that she gives. Moreover, she fuels her passion for science and medicine through participating in clubs like HOSA and Biomedical Futures, as well as regularly volunteering at a hospital, which is why she is driven to speak about Alzheimer's, the condition that affects thousands of individuals every year.
Year number 5, you remember the colorful, joyful blurbs of you spending your 5th birthday in your parents' backyard. Year number 18, you remember stepping foot into your dream college, both excited and scared, but what this new adventure holds. Year number 23, you have just received the news to work at your dream job. Year number 30, you remember all the mornings you sent your children off to school. Year number 64. You remember tucking in your grandchildren every night as you read them bedtime stories. However, this all starts crashing down. Time starts rewinding, working against you. Children, marriage, job, college, high school, kindergarten, all swirling into a blank space. It is often stated that life is a picture book filled with your most vivid memories, but this one is slowly being erased, stolen away. Approximately 24 million people worldwide are affected by this very condition, Alzheimer's. 24 million people who are slowly losing grasp of their memories, of their loved ones, and the past that they cherish so dearly. Alzheimer's is a condition which causes people to lose their memory function. It is thought to be the effect of several proteins and tangles forming within the brain, which causes the cells to then shrivel up and die, causing one's brain to be the very entity that strips them apart from all the treasured moments that they carry along through their life. That they carry along with their life.
She knows she's
Really sorry.
It's okay.
actually you're illustrating what a person with Alzheimer's will go through. This is a very good part, very important.
Do you know someone who is
Yes.
suffering from Alzheimer's?
Yeah. Losing these treasured memories throughout their life. Now, picture the amount of pain, the heartbreak that a child might face when they realize that their parent is slowly slipping away from them as time quickly sneaks by. Like a cruel, parasitic insect, slowly depriving them of these memories that built up the very core of the child's identity. Moments making sandcastles on the beach, taking strolls in the park, baking cookies in the kitchen, all gone in an instant, just like that. All gone in an instant, just like that. Can you imagine that someone you treasure so much is now just a stranger in your eyes? And we as a society are allowing for this pain to continue through several people around us, through our actions of just idly standing by. And this is largely due to the amount of stigma which is present between people with Alzheimer's and dementia, especially due to the lack of public awareness and knowledge that is surrounded behind this disease. This causes many people who experience dementia and Alzheimer's to prevent themselves from seeking out for help, and instead isolate themselves from others in the community, thinking, how will other people treat me once they realize I have this condition? Who will be there to support me if I do? And the number of people who are continuously affected by Alzheimer's continues to grow over time, with the number of people affected by this condition being expected to almost triple by the year 2050. And this is largely due to the fact that there's no real cure for Alzheimer's, and many medications and treatment plans which are used are proving to be less effective as time passes by. Which is why it's so important for us as a community to stand together and fight against this disease to help spark change. And that change can start today with the Alzheimer's New Jersey. Alzheimer's New Jersey is an organization which is embarking on a mission to help provide support and improve the quality of lives for people and families affected by this disease. They aim to make every day a little bit more brighter, a little bit more hopeful for families all across New Jersey until a cure can finally be found. The fight against Alzheimer's is not one that can be done individually, which is why the Alzheimer's New Jersey hosts several events which involve the entire community, such as fundraising walks, where families all across New Jersey can come together and walk in order to rally support for research against Alzheimer's and helping find a cure. They also host several educational centers and conferences to help spread awareness of this disease, which is commonly misunderstood. They also have an Alzheimer's and dementia helpline, which helps offer support to individuals and families who are constantly affected by this disease. And it is these effects by the Alzheimer's New Jersey which really helps provide us with the hope that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that we are taking the steps to create change. Year 64, tucking your grandchildren in for sleep. Year 32, sending your children off to school every morning. Year 23, receiving your first job. Year 18, your first day of college. Year number 5, your first memory. However, through the power of working together, the effects of Alzheimer's does not have to be a dark and dreary reality. And together, we can resist the fear storm which topples the bookshelf and help spark change, helping us further and win against this fight of one's most cherished memories.
Thank you so much, Sonia. So judges, do we have any questions?
I just ask you a couple of quick questions here. One of the things I read a few years ago, there was only a study about white Caucasian population where they said after the age of 80, then they said 1 in 2 can get dementia or Alzheimer's. And also diabetes is a very major cause, one of the causes, and the hearing loss, these are all related to the diabetes, Alzheimer's. And our community has a large diabetes cases. I think a lot of us, because of dietary issues or a lack of exercise, and so these are all very important issues that we are neglecting. So the Autism for New Jersey organization, I assume that they're catering to all the people, all the people, not just one particular community. So are you able to communicate this message to autism, the Alzheimer's for New Jersey, and say that the South Asians, and especially Indian Americans, and they're prone to diabetes, and how can we help them, and what kind of preventive things that we can do in terms of educating our own community. So What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea. Like you said, diabetes does seem to be a really big effect of Alzheimer's. So I feel like educating others in the community about how this connection between Alzheimer's and diabetes can really help others take the steps to prevent them from receiving these diseases.
Also, lifestyle. For example, they recommend that once you learn a language after the age of 50, basically you will have new neurons firing in your brain that will keep your brain and the memory going. And but just for information, you might know this. About 3 days ago, 4 days ago, I read that FDA approved a drug for Alzheimer's. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Oh, I'm not aware, but that seems like it would create a lot of change in helping people with Alzheimer's.
Thanks.
As age expectancy increases, despite of all the terrible illnesses, research seems to be working, and more cures have been discovered and brought forward. So people are living longer, and that is a fact. After a certain time, your memories start to fade, and everybody takes it as a normal process, and it comes with age. But I want to piggyback on what my husband said, that keeping your brain active and keeping the brain active for all the older people, because taking into account that all what we are really memories. The memories we take with us when we depart, and the memories we leave behind of what we have been for the people who stay on the earth. So my main issue is what kind of activities are being organized in those centers for Alzheimer's to actually inspire this aging population to be active participants and not just audience. Is there any program that makes sure that engagement at the cognitive and brain level, I would say?
I feel like activities such as like drawing maybe can really allow like the brain to stimulate its activeness. I know that a lot of people with Alzheimer's, they often take part in activities that are more creative to help stimulate their brain flow. So I feel like taking part in activities such as drawing or like writing can really help like improve their memory on the years going by.
Great job, Soumya. Your passion for this topic was evident, and I'm very glad that you talked about such a relevant and prevalent topic. Alzheimer's, as we said, is an ever-growing condition with millions impacted worldwide, and your speech did a great job of addressing this issue. Our next speaker today is Vishu Gautam. Vishu is a student at High Tech High School, where he explores a passion for computer science. He is an avid supporter of combating healthcare inequality and is currently working with the ACOM Foundation to provide funding for medical supplies in India.
When you hear the word utopia, what do you think of? For me, spaceships, flying cars, and skyscrapers come to mind. But who's to say that we aren't in a utopia right now? Let's travel back to 200 years ago, when the healthcare industry was first getting started. During this time, inventions like pasteurization and antibiotics were just being created. The average lifespan was lower than 40 years old. What's worse is that diseases were deadly serial killers. Getting something as simple as the flu could lead you to an early grave. But when we look at today, the story is completely different. The story is completely different. Our average lifespan today, here in the US, is 78 years old. Think about that. Humans have been on Earth for 200,000 years. And in just 0.1% of that time, we've doubled our lifespan. Even those diseases we once considered so deadly have turned into just minor nuisances. Think back to the last time you got the flu. You most likely went to the doctor, stayed in bed for 1 or 2 days, and were good as new after that. This is the utopia that we get to live in. A healthcare utopia, where we get to live above nature's rules, laws, and constraints. But not everyone gets that privilege. There are many regions around the world where nature still reigns supreme. Nowhere is this more prevalent than in the dark, unkempt streets of rural India. Here, people walk in and out of rundown villages, waiting for the next disease, the next virus, the next injury to come and pounce on them from the shadows, marking them for death. And when that disease does come, there are no medicines, no clinics, no hospitals, no vaccines that can help them. The only tool these people have to fend against nature is themselves. How can we call our society a utopia when we have this huge glaring problem in front of us? The problem of healthcare inequality. In India, healthcare inequality occurs for 2 main reasons. The first of these being money. The average salary in India is around 21,000 rupees a month. Convert that to dollars, and it's just barely 300. That is just enough for basic needs, and that doesn't let you afford different medicines, operations, or checkups. On top of this, India is the 6th lowest spender when it comes to government health. Because of this, health insurance programs and hospitals are very underfunded in rural areas. The second problem is distance. Around 80% of India's population lives in rural areas, and 60% of the population lives over 100 kilometers from the nearest hospital. Because of this, the idea of emergency care is thrown out the window. If you have a life-threatening injury or need an urgent operation, there's no way to get it, simply because of how long it takes to even get to a hospital in the first place. Because of this, the next cough could lead to your demise. The next flu or disease you get could lead to your early grave. But worst of all, a baby's birth usually means a mother's death. In 2007, a woman in Kerala came bursting into a hospital. She was screaming at the top of her lungs because she had just traveled 150 kilometers to get to there, the nearest hospital from her village. Immediately, attendants rushed towards her, but the woman at the front desk screamed in shock when she realized that there were no wards left to treat her. The attendants did the only thing they could do and set her down on the floor in the lobby. She was about to give birth, so one of these attendants ran throughout the hallways, the dark, dirty hallways of the hospital, calling for a doctor. But there was no response. Another attendant reached for a bag of supplies, but when they opened it, they were covered with dust and blood. With no hope left, the attendants looked back at the woman, where the light in her eyes was fading, getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. This woman had died an untimely death, not because of a fluke or some outstanding incident, but because of one fact of healthcare in India. There aren't enough resources to go around for the billions of people that need care. Let's put this into perspective. Around 40% of hospitals in India lack sanitation for their supplies. This makes most supplies one-time use only. 80% of hospitals in India don't have surgeons, which means that most people in rural areas have to travel multiple hundreds of miles to get to hospitals in big cities where these surgeons are. But what's worse is that 10% of hospitals don't even have doctors, being run just by medical attendants and volunteers. With all of these shortcomings, India is not equipped to handle the billions of people that need care every day. And because of this, there are millions of reports of people dying, being inconvenienced, or injured every year. One woman, Sai Lakshmi Balijapalli, heard the tragic story of this woman from Kerala, and she was horrified. Horrified by the fact that this woman had worked so hard to keep herself and her baby alive, but it had all amounted to nothing. She founded the Ekam Foundation, which initially started as a coalition of medical students from India and the USA. Today, it's a multi-continental organization that works on providing funding for hospital supplies, hospitals, and medical educations. One of my first projects with the organization was raising money for prosthetic legs. Prosthetic legs are a huge issue in India because approximately 1.3 million people suffer from lower limb loss. Most of these people are in middle and lower class areas, and they have to work ambulatory jobs like farming or factory work. It doesn't help that these prosthetic legs can cost up to $60, taking a huge chunk out of regular salaries. At ACOM, we raised over $6,000 for the cause of prosthetic legs. But for me, this was one of my first projects with the organization. The idea of health inequality and prosthetic legs didn't seem tangible to me. But that all changed when I heard the stories of the people that we were able to help. One of these was the story of Jyoti, a 7-year-old girl who lived in a village isolated by a thick, lush forest. But where others saw a barrier, she saw an amazing place to play. She would go there every day with her friends to play hide and seek or tag. But one day, as she was running with her friends, she tripped over a bush. She didn't think much of it at first. In fact, she was more worried about catching up with her friends. But as she tried to get up, she put pressure on her leg and immediately fell over, screaming in agony. She looked down at her leg, and there was a big, dark mark with blood trickling from the center. She hadn't realized it yet, but she had stepped over a sarcoidoma plant, a plant with dangerous thorns that can cause abscesses for infections to take root. As her friends brought her back to the village, her parents screamed in shock, realizing the danger of the situation. She had to be treated quickly and got into a hospital before the infection spread. But there was no time. The nearest hospital was too far, so the village did the only thing they could. They had to amputate her leg. The next day, she woke up dazed and confused about what happened yesterday. She tried to get out of bed, but immediately toppled over. She looked down and saw that one of her treasured lower limbs was missing, the leg that she loved so dearly to go play in the forest with her dear friends. She wore the same dejected expression for many months until she came into the distribution center, the prosthetic legs ran by ACOM. Soon, they fitted her with her own cast and her own leg, and she started by taking a few ginger steps, slowly turning into a walk, and eventually she ran out of the distribution center with the same carefree smile that she had many months before, realizing that she would go to be able to play in the forest again with her friends. At ACOM, we hear many stories of people and hospitals that we've helped. But we have a big obstacle standing in our way. We are an organization of a few hundred student and parent volunteers, trying to solve a problem on the scale of 500 million people. The truth is that we can't do this by ourselves. But you have the power to make a wave, a revolution. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just start with a simple donation. Even $1 can go a long way. A single dollar can help us buy IV kits, surgery supplies, and pay for medical education in low-resource areas. With more time, it would be amazing if you were able to join the organization. Your quick decision to help out in a few of our fundraisers and events starts a waterfall of friends, relatives, and other interested people willing to join our organization as well. Eventually, news might reach a government representative or a TV station who could provide more influence and funding to the issue so we can solve this problem, not just in India, but around the world. Today, we sit here in the amazing opulence of the USA, the utopia where we get to live above nature's laws. But how can we call ourselves so futuristic and advanced when there are millions of people around the world who can't access a simple checkup? It's our job, our responsibility, to make sure we bring joys of modern healthcare to people around the world. The joys of being able to get a cough and not having to fear for your life. The joys of being able to get a dangerous injury and not have to travel for hours in the back of a car in agony. We can't solve this problem individually, but if we come together as a coalition, we won't just be saving millions of lives today, we'll be saving billions in the future.
Thank you so much. Judges, do you have any questions?
Just for clarification, what are you proposing? I'm just trying to understand that, yes, there is a big problem. There's the rural parts, they don't have access to proper medical care. Forget about proper medical care. No, the hospitals are not there. There are not enough hospitals. The hospitals have sanitation problems. And I know we can give $1, but what is that you are trying to accomplish? How do you think we can address this problem?
Well, obviously this is a problem on a huge scale, right? So while individual donations do go a long way, the best thing that we can do is to build up our influence, like influence with different government representatives, because with government funding, we'd be able to provide proper funding to actually solve this problem throughout the country. Currently, ACOM works in a few states, such as Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, to help provide funding to hospitals, but we need more influence and funding to spread to other areas of India and actually solve this problem fully.
Have you thought about, we have technology and there is ever-growing telemedicine, through using the technology, you could provide healthcare for remote areas. And maybe have you thought about advocating for hospitals to have satellite branches, different places, so that way the rural population can get to their local center where they can access the access to medicine and health care from a distance, using use of the remote healthcare centers that are connected and use telemedicine.
Yeah, I found the idea very interesting because obviously building up full hospitals in a bunch of places is very expensive. So through these satellite methods, it would be easier to distribute resources. So I think that would be a very interesting front to explore.
Also, I think one of the things, longevity you talked about. Our longevity is because of all the medicines that we are consuming. So it's a medicine-based longevity, it's not natural longevity. So our access to the medicines is so important. And educating people about preventive care, there's so much of that we do not do in terms of preventive care. You should also advocate for preventive care.
Yes, that would be also very important issue to address.
It is very clear to me the part that you talk about your special project, the prosthetic help of the limbs for the people. But there is one raising funds, and that is really great. But the word that keeps on popping to my head is accountability. The money is given, the projects are outlined. How do you know that the hygiene is met, that the supplies are actually bought? I think that it screams to have a system in place that will check that everything is being used in the proper way. Because one major issue that you talk about is the lack of sanitation and how the blood and the dust, and it made it a very clear visual picture to me, being that I have been with my husband in very remote areas of India. I think that it screams for a need to make sure that all the measures are being implemented, especially know where your money is buying.
Yeah, that's a very important issue. So regarding ACOM, we also have distribution centers that are set up within our organization to help distribute the legs specifically. But I think this would be a great idea to provide general standards for donating to low-resource areas, because obviously sanitation and other issues are very big, and they could lead to more problems if we don't manage them properly.
Thank you so much, Vishnu, for such an informative speech on healthcare inequality. It is clear that it is an issue that you're very passionate about and something that is increasingly present, but also not thought about in today's society. So up next, please welcome Nishi Kurian. Nishi is a freshman at Menor Township High School, where she plays field hockey. Outside of school, she has been dancing almost her entire life and has a passion for film and media. For 2 years, she has been working to provide support for homeless people by hosting events to gather resources to donate. Your cart squeaks as you push it across the concrete floor. But you're not in a grocery store shopping for this week's necessities. Instead, you're out on the cold, dark streets, wearing torn clothes and tattered shoes, looking for where you're going to sleep tonight. That is what a day can look like for around 70,000 people in the United States alone. Today, we stand here in this room, sheltering us from all the dangers that might be waiting outside. But while we're here, there are thousands who will spend today out on the streets, under bridges, or in temporary shelters, unsure of their futures, vulnerable to the environments around them, and often facing a world that has seemed to forgotten them. As we go about our day-to-day lives, it's easy to forget those who live in the shadows of society, those who don't have a place to call home. Many people who make up the homeless population are those who have dealt with great traumas before in their life. From childhood trauma and substance abuse to dealing with the transition from being in jail or inpatient psychiatric services, these people are already fighting a constant mental battle. Take a girl named Aubrey, who found herself homeless at the young age of 16. Unlike many of us, Aubrey wasn't blessed with a typical home life. She came from a large family, but instead of receiving lots of love and support from them, she received nothing but abuse and neglect. Imagine coming home from a long, hard day of school, but not to a place where you can feel safe and find comfort in the people around you, but to a place where you are constantly scared for your safety, living in a reoccurring state of worry. That is exactly how Aubrey felt. For Aubrey, her home wasn't a safe place. Instead, it was a danger that she tried to avoid as much as possible. Scared for her life, she eventually ran away from home and found herself homeless at the young age of 16, the age of many of us standing here today. But unlike us, Aubrey didn't get fed by her parents, she didn't get rides to school and other activities, and she didn't get unconditional amounts of love and support. Instead, she found herself struggling to get food, struggling to find a way to get to school, and struggling to find a place to spend the night. Because of all the trauma that she dealt with in her childhood, Aubrey ended up dealing with lots of mental illnesses, eventually turning to drugs to try and combat them. These drugs led to her making many bad decisions, eventually getting pregnant at a very young age. Fortunately, with the help of homeless outreach programs, Aubrey was able to overcome her addiction, find a place to stay, and become a strong, loving mother to her child. However, when we walk past homeless people, many times we seem to forget their humanity. We don't know their story. Like for Aubrey, we wouldn't know the struggles that she went through during her childhood, or how she continued to struggle while she was homeless. Many people would just see her as another person who couldn't handle her finances properly, another person who many see as less than. When you walk past a homeless person, it's easy to judge, try and think about, oh, what drugs did they do to get in the situation? But we shouldn't focus on what causes people to end up homeless. We should focus on what we can do to help. The help that we can provide to these people has a huge, everlasting impact. By working with local shelters and homeless outreach programs, you aren't just providing these people with a meal or a bed for the night. You're providing them with hope that they will get out of that situation, motivation to better their lives. This is why I chose to work with RISE. RISE is an organization that works to provide homeless and less fortunate people with not just food, but the necessary items they need to go about their day-to-day lives. And while working with RISE, I've come to see that many of the people who live on our streets, many of the people that we walk past every single day, are some of the kindest souls. When you walk past someone on the streets, you don't know their story. They could have been in the army, serving our country for years, saving hundreds of lives. Or they could go on to become the future CEO of one of the world's largest companies. Take the former CEO of the company that is worth 2 times the United States Treasury, Apple. At the time of his death, Steve Jobs was worth around $10.2 billion. But there was a time where he was worth almost nothing. During his college years, Steve Jobs found himself staying the night in his friends' dorms, returning soda cans for 5 cents just to buy simple food, and walking 7 miles every Sunday for his one proper meal a week. However, despite all of his struggles, he was able to overcome them and become the co-founder of one of the world's largest companies today. If he was able to do that, who knows the potential hidden behind the thousands of people who spend their days on our streets today. Every donation you make fuels organizations like RISE, further fueling the mission to put an end to homelessness, a mission that can open doors to thousands of brilliant minds that could go on to create a world-renowned company or find the cure to a life-threatening disease like cancer. However, with all this in mind, every time I walk down the streets of New York City, I see hundreds of homeless people sitting on the rough floor, some clutching a baby to their side, begging for food. Whenever I see them, my heart fills with compassion, hoping the best for them. But yet, I can't remember the last time I actually reached out and helped. I'm sure many of you feel this way too, seeing these people, feeling horrible for them, but ultimately just walking right by them, because someone else will help, right? But what if that's everyone's mindset? What if everyone thinks that they can't be the one to make that difference? What if everyone thinks that someone else will do it? Who will actually make that change? Sure, there are organizations like RISE, but it's important to remember that making a difference starts with an action by you. So what can you do to help? It's simple. Make a donation, encourage others to do the same, or volunteer your time to organizations like RISE. These organizations make it easy to make a difference. Through their websites or through community events, it doesn't take a lot of time or effort to reach out and help. So tonight, as you lay in the comfort of your warm bed, remember that there are thousands who don't have that luxury. Thousands who will spend tonight sleeping on a bench using a plastic bag as a makeshift pillow. Thousands who need help. Now imagine a world where families aren't being torn apart because parents don't have a safe place to raise their children. A world where people aren't being ignored of their struggles. A world where everyone has a safe place to call home. This world doesn't just have to live in our imagination. We can make it a reality. By advocating for policies that ensure affordable housing for everyone and working with organizations like RISE, we can make sure that no one has to spend their days cold, dark, starving, and unsure of their futures. Now the next time you walk down a city street and walk past a homeless person, remember the potential that they may have, the struggles that they may have been through, and the humanity that is still within them. Don't just hope for change. Be the one to make it. Every action you take paves the way for a world where everyone has a place to call home.
Thank you so much. Judges, do you have any questions?
Yes, this is a typical case of a size don't fit all. Homelessness actually comes under the umbrella of a lot of issues that are going on with society. One of the main causes of being homeless is actually mental illness. I really don't believe that this country as a whole has a whole system to determining the mental or the physical or financial needs of individuals to sort out and provide for these homeless people. No kind of money by raising funds alone will actually, in my opinion, solve the problem. It is needed to have a good screening system in place to really determine how the help will come. Money alone and yes, we could raise millions, but the people suffering from mental illness will remain sick. And even if you lift them to a certain point, they will fall inevitably down. Addicted people will come down. Now, there is a group that you're talking about, the brilliant minds, that they will come up, and that would be a percentage that is worth to reaching out. But we cannot forget the other people that cannot really help themselves, no matter how much money you pour into. System needs to be in place.
Definitely. And we could work to provide these people with mental health, probably with volunteers, psychologists that can ensure that they will get treated the way they need to be.
Yeah, it looks like wife and husband asking questions here. But as Daisy said, the homelessness is a very complex problem, and there's no one size does not fit all, because there are people homeless because mental health issues, which Daisy alluded to. There are issues with respect to people who are drug addicts, and they are, that's one other reason. And also people are very lonely, they're rejected by somebody, some family member, somebody in the society. So they're facing rejection from, so they would rather be free and live elsewhere. And I think what is the challenge here is that we need to create places where they are welcome. Because if you look at the housing stock in New Jersey or any other state, for example, it is not enough to provide homes for everybody, affordable homes and access to them. And I think we need to think about creating like a concept like an ashram in India, where you have a village, welcoming villages that you create, where people feel they are welcome, and then provide, address the needs of different sets of people. I think it is a complex problem, and it was easy, somebody would have solved it already, but I think we should be innovative, and we always come up with new ideas to solve this problem. And I think if you see somebody on the homeless on the street, it is also our responsibility, our moral and social responsibility to take care of those people. Thank you for what you do.
Great job, Nishi. By being a part of the change you talk about, it's clear that this is a cause that you truly believe in and that you are truly working on improving. So thank you again. Up next, please welcome Sanjana Angara. Sanjana is a sophomore at West Windsor Plainsboro High School North, where she plays lacrosse and is an avid member of her MUN team. She spent countless hours volunteering for a public speaking organization to pass on the knowledge she has learned from her own experiences.
2 years ago, my mom had signed me up for a public speaking class. Now, like any other kid out there in the audience today, when your mom signs you up for a class that you're typically not interested in, you'd rather stay at home, maybe watching TV, with friends, or scrolling your For You page on TikTok. Now for me, when my mom signed me up for some class
voice wouldn't be able to project loud enough. I wouldn't even be able to have a day-to-day conversation with the people right in front of me. However, little did I know that these public speaking classes would change my life for the better. I can still remember the first class I took 2 years ago during my summer break. The first thing they made me do was to get up and give a 3-minute speech on a silly topic like, is summer better than winter? But when I actually came to the realization that I had to get up and give a speech in front of people, my heart started to pound out of my chest. My thighs started to shake uncontrollably beneath me, and I could feel the sweat start to creep in between my fingers. And that nervousness showed through my speeches. However, after a little bit of time and being consistent with what I was doing, I was able to improve. And then, I was able to give a 10-minute speech about Ruth Bader Ginsburg at my graduation for that level. That speech alone helped me find an idol, someone that I wanted to look up to and follow in their footsteps. But more than that, it gave me a confidence and a mindset that my voice could be used for the better, and that my voice matters. So then, fast forwarding to the beginning of my freshman year of high school, I decided that I would take all the experiences and skills that I learned over the summer and join a debate club. But not just any debate club. I decided that I would join my school's Model United Nations team. However, this team was renowned for being one of the hardest clubs to be successful in. And that was a true statement, even for me. Even though I had experience and skills with public speaking that I just learned that summer, it took many sleepless nights and endless research to actually show or gain any accomplishments in this club. But then, 2 years later, at the end of my sophomore year, I was able to get the Best Delegate Award at one of the hardest conferences of the entire year. But with this accomplishment came a realization. I realized that there are people out there that are just like me. People who let their anxiety cost them their success. 15% of students get lower grades on presentations due to their fear of public speaking. And 20% of people avoided raising their hand or speaking up for the same reason. That is 20% of our world's future problem solvers. 20% of our world's future world changers. 20% of our world's future leaders. But they will never be able to reach that potential due to the fact of a mere fear of speaking up. So now, you may be thinking, why is teaching public speaking even important? So let me tell you. Teaching public speaking to your kids will provide them with proper communication skills. And communication skills is the #1 thing that job interviewers look for, colleges look for, and even your teachers look for to grade your kids' success. But more than that, it'll give them the confidence and the mindset they need to be able to reach their accomplishments. Now, keeping this in mind, how many of you out there in the audience go to school in a central Jersey area, like West Windsor, Plainsboro, South Brunswick, or Monroe? Now, how many of you can confidently say that you have a public speaking course mandated or available to you within your school curriculum? That's not a lot. And I know for me, at my school, there are no public speaking courses available or mandated within my school. But physical education is a graduation requirement. Schools are supposed to be a place where kids are supposed to gain the skills for success and to grow in their future. But how can they do so when these schools don't prioritize their kids' success? They don't prioritize their future. So thankfully, I wasn't the only one who realized this. And a couple of friends of mine came together and created a nonprofit organization for this cause. It's called the Speaking Solution. The Speaking Solution is an organization that has come together to try and empower young minds through the use of public speaking. We want to make sure that 20% of possible future leaders can reach their potential with the proper skills. exactly what I wanted within this organization. That is, help shape young minds to gain the confidence to make their voice heard. One example of this is when I first started volunteering for the Speaking Solution, I had come across this young girl. She was in about 5th or 6th grade, and she was timid, shy, and anxious. And at her first class, the first thing I asked her to do was naturally go up and give a 30-second speech in front of me and 2 other people. But when she was up there, her eyes were glued to the floor, her hands were shaking beside her, and she was nervous. But the one thing that stuck with me about her was her voice. Her voice was powerful. It was projected to everyone in that room. And even though she wasn't displaying the proper public speaking skills, she engaged every single person, including me, in that room with just her voice. So that's when I knew that I wanted to work with her. I wanted to help her get better. So bit by bit, we worked on her public speaking skills. And weeks later, she was able to maintain eye contact with her audience, stand in a confident, upright position, and follow through with her points. Then, on last Sunday, my organization had come together for their regional conference. We had all of our speakers and students from our different locations come together and compete under the means of public speaking. And I am overjoyed to say that she had won first place at this competition for her public speaking skills. And when I saw her up there, I was overjoyed and I was full of pride because I knew that I was able to help a young girl who was just like me be able to be successful and use her voice for the better. But then again, I realized that there are people out there who struggle with what she and I did. People who have the fear of public speaking and let them cost them their success. So we must come together to stop this. One way of doing that is mandating public speaking courses within our school curriculums, making it available and making it available for people to use them. Or another way is being able to fund organizations like the Speaking Solution, or giving a donation. Malala once said, "When the whole world is silent, even one voice becomes powerful." So we must no longer continue to help silence the kids who have the power of changing the world.
Thank you so much, Sanjana. So Sanjana is not only the brand ambassador of her own organization, but also one for Inspire Academy. And with that, judges, do you have any questions?
Yes, I am curious to know if you have gone with those concerns to your principal, Lamont Thomas, about the possibility of giving you a higher or a more spotlight, even if you don't meet success there, that you go to Mr. Otherhole or the curriculum developer. And of course I'm talking to you so that way you don't get like, how come she knows? I am retired from that school district after 20 years of seeing brilliant students like yourself. Maybe we know a lot of people. We have a lot of people that we know in common, but I happen to know that it's a very open district, and I happen to know that they shoot for excellence, and I think that I like what I heard from you. And it also begins with teachers encouraging students to talk. Not everybody will volunteer, but the teachers have to know and detect possibilities and shortcomings. And some of the teachers themselves are not really good public speakers. So it begins there. Take your cause forward. It's a very good cause. I applaud you in your success, but you have a long way to go. So start scaling. Thank you for your presentation.
Have you heard about Toastmasters?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, Toastmasters has been around for a long time. We have Dale Carnegie, and one thought just came to my mind that Indian Americans typically, especially old timers like myself, we have never are used to public speaking, and a lot of us, one of the things for leadership skills is communication, and verbal communication is very important. And I think what you're doing is wonderful. And what we need to, since you know Toastmasters, I was thinking that Indian Americans like to party a lot. They go to a lot of friends' houses, social events and all that. Why not start something called Taste Masters? Because you have food and you have the taste. And you can have youngsters come and speak at those, allocate some time during the parties so that way they can speak and their parents can listen, and there's intergenerational, interaction that is going to be there. I think something to think about. Sometimes, you may not be able to move the mountain, but you can always use what is available to you and see how you can make the best of it. Thank you.
We're now opening the floor up for the audience, and if the audience has any questions, there's a microphone on the right side of the room that you are welcome to use. Anyone has any questions? Going once? Okay, we have a question.
Just a quick question of how do you go about teaching the students? Like, what does that part of the program look like?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And so typically what we do is primarily in the first class, we just make them go up and give like a really short speech, kind of how I mentioned in my story earlier. So they would go up and give like a 30-second speech, and we would kind of be able to assess their skills based on like if they're good at projecting, or if they need better help on what to say with their content, or how to maintain eye contact with their audience. Because obviously public speaking goes more than just having a conversation or talking. It's about standing up and looking presentable, but overall just being confident. So it's kind of how we go about it to assess them primarily, and then kind of moving on to giving feedback. And so we'll continue kind of with that process until they kind of progress and are able to just be confident in themselves.
And do you have individualized instruction with them, or is it like a small group setting?
It kind of depends. Like right now, it's like we have a good amount of volunteers, but we have multiple volunteers at a certain location where we have about, it can range from like 3 to 10 students per class. So obviously we do have an idea of like the certain progress that each and every one of our students have. So most of the time it's in a group setting, but we're able to kind of give individual feedback every time we give a speech.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. So are there any more audience questions? Okay, thank you so much, Sunshine. Before we move on to our next speaker, I would like to give a very warm welcome to our third judge, Senator Greenston. The Honorable Senator Linda Greenston is a politician who represents the 14th Legislative District in the state of New Jersey's Senate. She has had years of professional experience, including being a specialist in disability law, the staff attorney for a community health law project, and the assistant district attorney for the city of Philadelphia. In 2014, she received the Barbara Boggs Sigmund Award, which is presented to a Democratic woman who has had a successful career and who promotes policies in support of women and families. Senator Greenston has spent her entire career to support and improve the lives of all people in this nation. We are honored for her to be representing us. Thank you so much for being with us today. Okay. So up next, please welcome to the stage Chetan Koneru. Chetan is a junior at West Windsor Plainsboro High School South, where he has played Ultimate Frisbee for 2 years. He wants to make it known that everyone deserves an equal opportunity to succeed, and he has spent over 150 hours working to give underprivileged communities in Nigeria the resources and help that they need.
Imagine waking up, but not in the comfort of your luxurious bed, with your nice pillows and your warm blankets, but surrounded by stained walls, the smells of reeking trash, and open sewers surrounded by swarms of mosquitoes carrying deadly, life-threatening diseases. A single bite from one of these can mean a death of a person. This nightmare is a sad reality for so many people around the world. Not just in areas like Africa or Nigeria, which people commonly believe are underprivileged. There's so many areas around the world who go through these same issues and affect so many people on a daily basis. For most of us here, our main concerns are, when will I get my next work done? When will I finish my next assignment? Will I have another test in class on Monday? But for these people, it's, when will I get my next meal? Will I be able to sleep safely tonight if it rains? What if I need medicine? What if I get sick? Nobody, especially children, should have to go through and think about these problems on a daily life. But the sad reality is that it's a truth, and it's unavoidable. But there's so much we could be doing to help. Why are these people suffering? They're not any different from us. We're all the same. We are all human beings at the core. But these people don't have access to clean food, clean water, or even medical attention. For us, when you want to get a glass of water, you simply pick up a glass, fill it up, and take a sip. But imagine, instead of doing that, you had to walk miles in the scorching heat, on muddy roads with rocks poking through your feet, just to find out that the water that you're about to drink is either undrinkable or contaminated by some disease. This means that you either suffer from the effects of dehydration, or you have to deal with the deadly diseases that might be lurking within. So many people, especially children, are overlooked in these areas. They come from areas that are affected by natural disasters. One specific example is a child that we met through our organization named Rico. Rico was very young when his parents died. An earthquake hit his village, and sadly, neither of his parents made it. But Rico and his brother were lucky to escape. But ever since then, they've never been able to get their feet on the ground. They were never able to recover from this devastating impact. And Rico, being at this young age of only 5 years old, had this new responsibility to take care of his brother. But who would help a child? There was no one looking out for them. No one like a parent or a guardian to tell them what to do, what not to do. They didn't have that guiding figure. And Rico was inexperienced. But he was able to meet up with people who work at our organization, Leadership Initiatives. We work in a large group of people in certain subdivisions, and our subdivision is focused on helping these underprivileged communities in Nigeria. Over the past 2 years, we have developed many workshops aimed at educating and preventing these diseases in areas such as Rico's community. For example, recently we conducted a workshop where people who attended were able to learn how to make gardening equipment out of simple trash. For example, a milk jug. For most, it's just disposable, but we taught them that you can make a shovel to help grow food and combat malnutrition and lack of protein in growing beans. And this has changed so many lives. Rico and his brother are now doing so much better. Both of them have access to medical care. They also have access to doctors. And we found out that Rico's brother had type 1 diabetes, but now he has access to health care, and he can get the attention that he deserves. No child is different. No person is different. All of us have what it takes to succeed. But some of these people's dreams aren't empowered. They aren't looked after. Some of these people feel like they don't matter. But by donating or contributing our time, not only do we tell these children that there's a chance, we provide them with hope. Hope that their future can be better. Hope that they can make their dreams come true. And we give them the sense that they're not forgotten about, and that there's people around the world who actually do care about them. spending time and advocating for these different communities and helping these people succeed, we make the world a better place. Imagine a world where every person was invested in. Every single person believed that they could be something great. A world where even a commoner could be the great scientist that cures cancer. A world where anyone can become the next billionaire. A world where anyone can hold a government position. A world where anyone can advocate for anything. A world where anyone can achieve everything. So many people are overlooked. So many people believe that their dreams don't matter, that they can accomplish something because of the situation that they are placed in. But we have a responsibility, all of us sitting in this room. We live comfortable lives. We don't have to worry about our next meal. We don't have to worry about things such as medical or health care. But we have a responsibility to make sure that everyone has access to the same things that we do. By helping these people, not only do we as ourselves gain a sense of moral responsibility and happiness, but we spread the message to billions of people around the world that these people need help and it's doable. So we all have to take it upon ourselves to give these people and these children the chance and opportunity that they deserve.
Thank you so much, Ethan. So judges, do you guys have any questions?
So you were talking about poverty, basically, right? And one of the great leaders said that poverty is a violation of human rights, and the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, basic, food and water and roof over your head and clothing. I think these are all the important things. So, to fight poverty, it's a monumental task, and I think, especially in a democratic society and that is capitalistic and everybody for themselves, everybody for their own progress and advancement, and you want to. I guess your ideas are good in that we try to inspire people to not just live for themselves but live for others, and a little bit of sacrifice on their part, to help other people who are really in need, not only in the United States, around the world, suffering from lack of things. And so I think it is going to be a long process and advocacy, because people tend to be more and more self-centered, and then ask them to look at outside of themselves and their own progress. It's a challenging task, but one worth investing a lot of time in. And I want to admire you for taking that task. And I think there are many ways. I think we can start helping the children. You have UNICEF. And children around the world are suffering, and children are the most vulnerable victims of poverty, because when they're denied during their early years, they're not provided whatever is needed, the basic needs. That creates a lot of problems for the rest of their life. And congratulations on good work.
Yes, I also want to say that this is a really worthwhile cause. All the causes presented, but here the global outreach have a very special appeal. Actually, what my husband was saying in terms of other organizations that are in place, in the union is the strength. So one way for any new project to go is to try to fuse or to create partnership with existing organizations, because sometimes 1 + 1 = 3. So by doing that, you guarantee that all your projects, your ideas, and your funds are actually really going through the right channel.
your passion for this issue shows, and as we discussed, it is a very important issue, and it's a global issue in today's world. So our next speaker, we welcome Johan Deshpande from Munner Township High School. Johan is a standout student athlete who excels both academically and on the soccer field. As a high-level soccer player, he combines his athletic ambition with his leadership in the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Club, embodying dedication and excellence in all of his endeavors, which has led him to speak about and participate in an outreach program for soccer.
Close your eyes. You're walking up the steps to the grand stage. As you enter the center of the stage, feel the spotlight shining on top of you. The butterflies murmur in your stomach, and you feel the laser-like eyes from the audience stare into your physical expression. You're nervous, but you can't relieve it. You take a deep breath, but nothing happens. Open your eyes. It's uncomfortable being in the spotlight. However, some people feel this way all the time. He's so used to being looked at that he can't keep up, says Enfluence, talking about her 2-year-old son named Axel, who suffers from a spinal cord disabilities. Disabilities make up around 15% of the global population, and although this number may not seem like much, it's close to around 1.2 billion people. Yes, around 1 billion people suffer from some sort of disability. Raise your hand if you know anyone, this could be a relative, a friend, or someone you just met who suffers from a physical, mental, or emotional disability. Now, keep your hand raised if you know if this person is active in some way, whether it's for exercise or something they're just joyous of. Well, to help manage and improve the lives of people who are differently abled, we, as a community, should involve them in activity, which aims to aid daily living. Sports are the most watched and popular activity, along with coming with a myriad of benefits, such as improved coordination, boosted self-esteem, strengthened cardiovascular endurance, and broken down social barriers if this person is part in a group sport. Consider the story of Sarah Story, a young woman who was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, but found her confidence through sport and through swimming. Initially, Sarah lacked confidence and coordination, but after constant practice and commitment to swimming, along with the encouragement from her coaches and teammates, she found her confidence and she became a para-swimming competitor. Not only a competitor, but she won gold medals in most of her competitions and events. Sarah's story is just one of many that shows the transformative power of sports for the differently able. Branching onto the trio sports, there's one sport in particular which also happens to be the #1 sport for people who are differently able to take action into, led by around 3.5 billion people globally. Yes, a billion with a B. And this sport is soccer, or football. Personally, soccer has always been a great passion of mine. I remember, as a child, just gliding through the grass and past my opponents. And that first goal I scored for my township club was filled with joy and camaraderie from my teammates and my coaches. And that moment made me realize that I wanted to participate in soccer for the rest of my life. And this passion is shared by the other 3.5 billion people in the world who love the sport, making it a universal language. It's not only highly inclusive in which everyone can play the sport, but it's also adaptive, meaning all you really need is any ball at your feet, and some chairs and bottles or shoes, or something else that would represent a goal. For the past 2 years, I've been volunteering in an organization called Top Soccer, the outreach program for soccer, which is a branch of the USYS, which is the United States Youth Soccer Association. For these 2 years, I've had the privilege of working with children and young adults who are differently able, helping them learn and prosper through the sport of soccer. And through Top Soccer, they're provided with experienced coaches, trainers, and volunteers who are dedicated to creating a fun and supportive environment. And this environment allows them to participate at their own ability level, making sure that no matter their physical or mental limitations, they can benefit from the sport of soccer. For these 2 years, I've had a participant named Elijah who suffers from autism. When I first met him, I realized that Elijah rarely spoke and barely moved. It was as if he was trapped in a world that just seemed so far away. But day by day, I saw a glimmer of change. He would open up a bit more, talk a bit more, and be more active on the ball. And that one day, where he smiled at me and looked up and said, "The soccer ball is fun," immediately melted my heart. It not only showed me the transformative power of sports for the differently able, but it showed that sports can change a person's personality and emotions and allow them to open up. Witnessing Elijah's transformation just showed me the positive impact sports like soccer can have on an individual. Now, with all this joy that may come from sports for the differently able, there's always a barricade that blocks. And that is the lack of accessibility for sports for the differently able. Not everywhere can someone participate in a sport they enjoy and they love, because many continents don't have the opportunity. But programs have been made by organizations to start participating the differently able in sports that they enjoy, like Special Olympics Bar in India, which showcases sports like soccer, long jump, and track. Ability sports in Africa, which has won world records for their para-basketball teams, and the most astonishing integrated dreams, which doesn't only allow participants to play soccer, but it also allows them to visit stadiums and train with professional coaches who will help them prosper. A world where everyone, regardless of their abilities, can enjoy and benefit from sports is within our reach. The benefits are undeniable, such as improved coordination, boosted self-esteem, and strengthened cardiovascular endurance. Stories like Sarah's and Elijah just show the transformative power of sports like swimming and soccer, and together we can break down barriers and enhance the importance of sports for the differently able.
Thank you so much. Judges, do we have any questions?
Hi, how are you doing? Very good job. I wanted to ask you, with these young people who are differently abled, do you find that that all of them end up participating? Do some of them have to be coaxed a lot to do it? And are there some who just like people who aren't differently able, they just see themselves as non-athletic and they just don't want to do it? Do you find that, how much coaxing do you have to do with these kids to get them to participate? And my question is, are there some that just won't participate?
So, at Top Soccer itself, there is individual training where the participants are introduced to the sport, and there are trials to see their progress and if they really enjoy the sport or not, or if they're just doing it for exercise. And of course, some people are not going to enjoy the sport, but as a community, in Top Soccer, we try our best to involve them in something that they may love or just for exercise. And for that reason, we just try to shout out these people and just help them exercise more than just improving their skill in the sport or other aspects.
Thank you.
Yeah, in terms of physical education for everybody, it's part of the core curriculum. Right? You have schools have the physical education. Do you think that at the school level they can make some improvements to make sports and sports activities accessible to children with differently abled capabilities?
So yes, I mean, at my school at least, there is an organization which helps the differently able play sports and other activities. Like we do basketball, we do competitions in basketball versus other teams that are in the state or out of state. And we do that similarly for sports like soccer and volleyball. So already there are some advancements in schools that help this cause. However, not all schools have this opportunity because maybe they don't have the funding, or they just don't have that sort of thinking or organization that can help the differently able to prosper. So again, I feel that every school should have this opportunity. However, most schools don't have that. So
You have done a great job of highlighting the individual, both physical and mental benefits of playing the sport. But there is one really good underlying benefit, and that is the sense of belonging. Most of these children are usually isolated, left to themselves. Nobody wants to be near them. So that creates a certain feeling of loneliness that persists with them by feeling inadequate or wanted. Being part of a team where everybody has their own, as you could call, issues, actually binds them together and creates a very positive interaction about team members and a support that is very hard to duplicate outside of the field. So that is a great thing, and I hope that more of these happen and more of team building are creating. Not that you go there for your specific need, but we are all here to work together. And that I believe should really be the umbrella that brings them all together.
yeah, I love how you pointed that out because in top soccer we try as hard as we can to involve them all in one scrimmage where they can interact with each other. We do 2 teams and let them play against each other and make sure that everyone gets some touches on the ball so they feel exposed to their environment around them. So again, we break down social barriers with this and develop social networks. So I feel like if we build that even more, we'll create a better and connected society.
Okay, thank you so much. So now we're going to have a quick 10-minute break. There's coffee and some other beverages in the back. And on top of that, we have a very extraordinary volunteer fair set up with a bunch of organizations who would love to talk to you. And we hope you'll take some inspiration from our speakers here today who are putting hours and hours into their organizations and sign up for a volunteer event or 2. So see you back in 10 minutes.
You delayed, oh God. Oh my goodness.
Shaka is a sophomore at Lawrence High School with an interest in pottery, drawing, painting, and sculptures. She has spent many years dancing a classical Indian form of dance, Bharatanatyam, and has dedicated countless hours volunteering with organizations to advocate for period equality in third world countries.
Every day, young girls struggle with the heat and humidity of Cameroon, added with the stress and anxiety from school. They have to sit up to 7 hours in classes, knowing that any second that they could be completely embarrassed. With one leak, with one stain, or a smell that they truly cannot control, these young girls are feeling so low. They go through what many girls at their age go through, their period. Something that comes naturally among these girls. But these girls are left so embarrassed of something that they cannot control, leading them to do what many girls do, stay at home. For almost 5 days out of the month, these young girls are missing their school. They're missing the interactions with their friends and the knowledge that the teachers are giving them. These girls are so humiliated by what they have naturally occurring to them, leaving them to fall into a deep hole in their mental health. These girls don't have the privilege, like we do, to go to the store and find racks and racks of products catered to us, with different companies, brands, and prices, all made for us to feel safe and comfortable within our lifestyles. Instead, these girls are faced with disappointment when going to the stores and finding 2 to 3 products overall. And these products are not cheap. They can't be forced, they can't live with the prices of these products, being 2 to 3 times as much as it is over here, making it hard for these girls to pick these products over their food or these products over their supplies for school. Instead, these girls are left to do what many of them do. They find old fabrics and old clothing from friends and family that they could use to cut up and make their own pads. These products, for now, seem like a great idea for them. Not only is it reusing old materials, it's also making them feel safe and comfortable for the short term. But what happens after 6, 7 months of these products being used again and again? They become unsanitary and unsafe for these girls. Not only unsanitary to themselves, not being able to be 100% sanitized, if these products are thrown out in wastelands, it can be unsafe to the earth as well. Knowing that these products can be unsafe to this extent, these girls should not be forced to make their own DIY projects for something that every single one of them go through. As this problem starts to rise, an organization by the name Pride Pads have stepped in. This organization helps these young girls feel comfortable and back on their feet on their lifestyles. Pride Pads distributes pads that are safe for the environment as well as these young girls. Every year, almost 200,000 tons of waste from period products is being released into landfills. That is 200,000 tons more than necessary. These products that are left in the landfills are not only dangerous to the girls, but also to the environment, containing materials and chemicals that contain fragrances, chlorines, and other chemicals that are harmful. But Pride Pads have made these products that are sustainable and biodegradable, containing no harsh chemicals. These products are distributed to these young girls at a low cost, might I say free. Not only does this help these young girls, by putting them back into their school and having them feel safe and comfortable around their peers, it makes them feel like they belong. It makes them feel a part of the society, knowing that they don't have to miss their key moments just because of something they cannot control. As we have the privilege of having the ability to go to the store and find whatever we need, it's important that we allow these girls to feel somewhat like us. When we see these young girls struggle, it's important to raise our voice and talk about how important it is to make sure these young girls aren't missing key parts of their education or their social life because of something that is so common and so important to them. No one should have to pick their health over their hygiene or their hygiene over their health, when at the end of the day, your hygiene is a key part of your health.
You did a wonderful job, very interesting. You started out by saying that this had to do with girls in Cameroon, is this, I assume, this problem exists in probably a lot of other countries?
This problem exists all around the world, and it's very important, but the organization I'm working with currently is based in Cameroon and is mainly helping girls in Cameroon.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
I was just trying to think, these are young girls who have to miss school if they don't have the right products.
Mm-hmm.
What about the adult women there
Mm-hmm.
who have their periods? How does it work with them? Do they have any access to equipment that would help them in this situation?
Okay, so Pride Pads not only helps the young girls in Cameroon, but it helps any woman who is needing for these products. But right now I'm basing mostly on like young girls because at their age, it's very important that they have a strong mental health and strong education so that they can grow up to be these women who are a key part of our society.
Yes. Oh, I can see why you focus on
Yeah.
them. But I just wonder how the conditions were for women and women who might need this type of equipment.
Yeah.
Can they buy anything there? That would
So
be good?
any woman who is in need of these products are given these products. So if you are in need, all you have to do is ask and you can receive these
Oh,
products.
that's wonderful. Well, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vishaka. So period equality is an issue that should be at the forefront of all of our minds. Thank you for shedding light on this topic, and great job. Next up, we have Sahasra Chibapalli. Sahasra is a freshman at Monroe Township High School where she is on the junior varsity track team and a member of the dance performance team. In her free time, she likes to bake, dance, sing, and read.
Picture this. It's a cold winter day. You're sitting in front of your fireplace with a blanket over you, some hot chocolate, and your favorite marshmallows from Walgreens. Now take away the fireplace, take away the blanket, take away the hot chocolate, take away the marshmallows, and lastly, take away the home. This is the life of a person who has lost everything, especially their home. When you search up homelessness on the internet, you'd find pictures of tent cities, people lined up at food banks and shelters, and people aimlessly wandering the streets. But what do we do about it? According to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, about 600,000 Americans have ended up homeless in only 2023. This is an atrocious amount for a country that we call the most prosperous. And if you think the number's bad now, well, I hate to break it to you, but it's only going to get worse. When I was younger, at the ripe age of 5, me and my cousin were walking through the streets of New York. And there he was, sitting on the side of the road, wearing raggedy clothes, a cardboard sign in his hands, with a bucket in front of him, begging people on the streets for money. But the people paid him no heed. They just walked past him without a care in the world. They didn't even stop to look at him. My cousin motioned me to stay away from him, but why? I was only 5 years old. I wanted to help this man innocently sitting on the side of the road. With time and age, I learned that he was a homeless person. A homeless person with nothing to his name. I then got to thinking, how did this person end up the way he is? What caused this? There are so many ways a person can end up homeless. This can range from trauma to broken relationships to medical reasons to even unemployment. But one common reason a person can end up homeless would be through drug abuse and alcohol addiction. People love to assume things about homeless people and stereotype them, saying things like, oh, you're homeless because you're addicted to alcohol and drugs, or calling them names like lazy and useless and things like that. But how can we assume things about these people with no prior knowledge, background, or knowing anything about this person at all? A few days ago, my dad came home from the grocery store and he was telling me about how he saw a homeless person right outside and that it reminded him of my speech. I then proceeded to ask him, so how much money did you give this person? Or better yet, what did you give this person in general? My dad simply answered with, well, the person looked okay. He looked like he was able to go get a job or do something. I just stopped him right there. My dad, with no background, no knowledge, or knowing anything about this person at all, just assumed something so big about him. We need to stop doing that. Do you know how many homeless people die per year? Not hundreds, not thousands, not even millions, but billions of homeless people die every single year due to multiple reasons. So instead of downgrading them when they need us the most, we need to uplift them and help them with the best of our abilities. There are so many different types of homeless people, but one particular group that I'm very concerned about would be homeless veterans. Homeless veterans are basically people who have served in the military and the army, but have ended up homeless due to many unfortunate reasons. To help solve this issue, many NGOs have started food banks and clothing drives to help this issue. One particular NGO that really inspired me would be the National Alliance to End Homelessness. This NGO focuses on 3 things: designing a crisis response, reducing unemployment rates, and lastly, building homeless shelters. Recently, this NGO realized that one of the main issues amongst homeless people would be job loss. To help solve this problem, they issued a nationwide survey and got thousands of responses back. After getting responses back, they decided to take action. They hosted a very prominent food and clothing drive. Not only was this drive helpful to many people, but also a lot of people were inspired by it and decided to start their own food and clothing drives. Personally, this NGO inspired me to take one of my abilities, baking and cooking, and use it to my advantage. I baked a bunch of desserts and goods and took some clothes from my house that I don't use anymore and donated it to a shelter nearby my house. Seeing the smiles and delight in these homeless people's faces as they were eating what I baked them made me want to continue doing this forever and ever and ever. One thing that I got out from this was that each and every single homeless person in that shelter ended up there for a different reason. One story that stuck with me a lot was the story of a 65-year-old woman named Cheryl. Cheryl was telling me about how she had to use every last cent of hers to pay her medical bills because she had a severe heart condition. This caused her to lose her home and end up in a homeless shelter. Apart from this, one other thing that I got out from talking to these people at the homeless shelter was that they don't just enjoy getting some money. They'll take food, clothes, or even spending a few minutes with them would absolutely make their day. We all know her, famous actress, singer, and performer, Jennifer Lopez. But did you know at the ripe age of 15, she was stranded on a sofa in the middle of nowhere and kicked out of her house, all because she wanted to follow her dreams? If she, a person with nothing and nobody, can make it to that level of fame, why can't homeless people now, with a little bit of help from us, at least get a place to sleep at night? Now picture this. It's a cold winter day. You're sitting in front of your fireplace with a blanket over you, some hot chocolate, and your favorite marshmallows from Walgreens. But this time, it isn't just you. It's every homeless person everywhere.
Do you have any sense of what percent of these people are mentally ill? I mean, I have always suspected that a pretty large number of the homeless are mentally ill, and that we're obviously doing a pretty bad job in this country taking care of mentally ill people in many different ways. But what's your sense of how many of them are?
I think a good number of them are definitely mentally ill, but also in my speech I talked about drug abuse. A lot of people become mentally ill due to drug abuse, so that would be a good percentage of homeless people that are mentally ill.
Right. You know, I think part of what made many, there are really two major reasons why I think many of the mentally ill went out on the streets. One of them was the closing of mental hospitals a number of years ago. We had many of them here in New Jersey, and I'm sure most of them were terrible. And what we should have done is invested a lot in making them better places, but instead we just closed them. And as soon as we closed them, a lot of people went out in the streets. The other thing is the conditions at homeless shelters. They're not good, and I'm sure people have tried somewhat to make them better, but we haven't succeeded. And I feel like those are two of the main reasons that so many people began to live out in the street. I don't know if you've been out west to California, like San Francisco and Oregon and other places. At least 10 years ago or so when I was out there, lots of homeless people were living out in the street. They weren't even tent cities there. They were just out in the downtowns. And as a tourist, you know, everywhere I went, I saw lots of people. And obviously there are Supreme Court cases about that right now, for example. But I think in this country, to sum up, I think we can do a much better job of dealing with the problems. I think it is great to bring them cake I'm sure it does make them happy. But I really think that we have to take this up, maybe you'll be the person to do it, as a serious policy issue and try to see what we can do to make conditions better. And I don't believe people should be out in the streets. Now, some of them are so mentally ill, they would say, I want to be out in the streets, but I don't think that's a rational decision. I think we have to give them good places to stay, and you know, we need to make sure that we're really taking care of the issue. So I hope you'll work on that.
Yes, I definitely agree, and I will work on that. Thank you so
Great.
much.
Thank you.
Any questions from the audience? Please go ahead.
Looks like we're 100% convinced.
Yeah, it seems that way. So great job, Sahasra. Your passion for this issue shows, and we're so proud of all the work you did. Great job with your speech. Our next speaker is Sneha Banda. She is a current high school student at Westminster Plainsboro High School South pursuing computer science. Outside of school, she enjoys playing on the field hockey team and loves to sing. Her passion for programming comes from exploring a computer applications class on a whim, where she was able to understand the real-world applications of computer programming. After realizing the lack of computer science literacy in her community, she began her organization, Algorithmic, which aims to make computer science more accessible to kids from different backgrounds.
I'm sure that all of you here today have encountered a moment in your life where you tried something new and unexpected. Now let me tell you the story of a little girl, about 12 years old, who did exactly that.
She entered her first computer science classroom, not knowing what to expect. And she was the only girl among 15 boys. Her palms were sweating. Her heart was pounding. She was as nervous as she could be. And even as her teacher started to talk about just the basics of computer science and coding, she felt overwhelmed. She didn't know what to do. But then she began her first computer science project, a simple website about herself, about what she does. And she felt accomplished when she finished it. She felt like this was something that she could pursue outside of school, maybe as a future career. Later, she learned how to build websites more complex, learned how to develop apps and games. And now today, this girl isn't so little anymore. She's a computer scientist. She's a coder. And she's standing before you today. Growing up, I've always had the opportunities and resources that I need to be successful in my journey to computer science. But I never realized that people around me didn't have the same opportunities. And that as someone from Westminster Plainsboro, I assumed that everyone had the opportunities that they needed to be successful in whatever passion and profession they want to pursue. But that's not entirely true. But rather, the middle schools and elementary schools in Westminster Plainsboro lack computer science curricula for those who want to pursue computer science. And even the high schools who do have computer science classes only have 2. And people shouldn't have to back down from pursuing their passion because of this educational disparity. Now, the story of the little girl deeply resonates with me because it reflects my personal experiences. But what if I told you that my story isn't unique? That there are countless children out there who, like me, have a passion. But the only difference is that they can't pursue it because they don't have the resources. Now, we live in a tech-driven world where practically everything around us is AI or technology related. Yet, computer science is marginalized in US high schools everywhere. Only 57% of US high schools have computer science curricula, and the only 2 classes being AP Computer Science A, which focuses only on Java, and AP Computer Science P, which focuses only on Python. What about the other languages out there? What about machine learning? What about NLPs, LLMs? What about all of that? Why are we focused on the basics of computer science when we have so much to learn from it? We need to focus on real computer science. It's like you're in a calculus class and you're learning long division. Why do I do long division when you can do so much more with calculus? So many real-life problems. Now, Deloitte conducted a recent study that said 61% of the people that took their study found that people that do use computers on their day-to-day basis in their job find it so much easier and will find it easier in the future to do their job. And people that don't use computers will struggle to keep up with people that do. Now, why is this? And you might be thinking, if your child's not even pursuing a computer science degree or a job in the future, why should you care? We'll take Marissa Mayer, for example. She was a high schooler like some people here today, excited to graduate. She'd gone to Stanford on the pre-med track, majoring in psychology, intending to be a pediatric neurosurgeon. But she attended her first AI conference, which talked about psychology and its use in computer science. And she immediately fell in love with computer science and technology. After she graduated, she went into consulting, but later realized that she wanted to pursue a job in computer science at Google. The problem, you may ask? She didn't have any experience in computer science. And the people that she was competing with had seen computer science or worked with it at least once in their life. But she was a psychology major, so she's never taken a course, computer science, in the 4 years of college. And she didn't have computer science courses in her high school. So she had to work hard. She worked day and night to teach herself just the basics of computer science, things that people as 15-year-olds might know how to do. She spent hundreds of dollars to attend Google internal training programs to develop her computer science skills. She kept failing and failing, trying over again. And after years of hard work, yes, she did succeed. She made it to Google, and today, you might know her as the former CEO of Yahoo. But that's not what I'm here to tell you about. I'm here to focus on the point that she struggled, and she struggled more than she should have. Do you want your child to be put in a position where they have to try over and over again because their schools didn't have education, because they didn't have access to computer science education? Now, this was the problem I noticed in Plainsboro. In my community, I decided I needed to make change, which is why I founded my own organization, Algorithmic. Now, Algorithmic aims to make computer science more accessible to young kids from different backgrounds. Regardless where you come from or who you are, you should have the opportunity to pursue your passion. Now, after just a few months of running this, a few high schoolers from Brazil reached out to me and shared their experiences with me. We've noticed the connections that we had. We made very similar connections, and we learned from each other's experiences. And I told them that I know how it feels to be undermined in an area where I lacked knowledge. Since I lacked my knowledge in technology with the 14 boys around me. But no kid should ever feel that way, which is why I offer free weekly online workshops and tutoring sessions to kids that want to gain skills and sharpen their skills in computer science. Because no kid should ever feel the way I did. Along with these weekly tutoring sessions, we also offer social media posts every week that offer technology tips to kids all around the world. And not only do kids find this helpful, but adults have also said that they find this helpful just to sharpen their skills or maybe pursue a new passion. Now, we should help everyone. We should make sure every child has what they need to pursue their passion, regardless if it's computer science or not. So what can you do? You can simply just spend time with your kids who might be interested after listening to my speech, and just spend time to talk to them about computer science and how to get into it. Or if you know nothing about coding, which is perfectly fine, you guys can help them research resources that they can use to help them learn the basic skills of coding, like Code.org or Khan Academy. Now, we're here to make change, because our generation right now is our future. And Algorithmic is here to make you aware and make change.
Very good speech. Definitely an important topic because I'm of the generation that barely knew how to put a sentence into a computer. Now, I've learned a lot because I've had to, but I'm sure I don't know anywhere near what younger people do, and certainly all the things that you're talking about. So anytime we can get these courses put into our curriculum, it's obviously very important, and I think it's a great thing that you're working on this issue. So thank you for the input.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the audience?
Technology will bring more questions.
First of all, fantastic. Just listening to you, I think perhaps that skills. I feel that in half a decade or decade, computer science coding is a very small piece of what we call computer science as technology. It's very misunderstood. Everybody thinks computer science is all about coding, right? And that last piece of the puzzle will be the easiest to solve very soon. The difficult pieces of the puzzle will be what you did to articulate a problem. You know, that will be more important to have. Human-centered design, designing the problem in a way that intuitively can solve it. So, how do you see this? Are you trying to solve the problem, the entire chain, or you just focuses on coding code? My worry is that coding perhaps will be the least of the problems going forward. What do you think?
Thank you for your question. Since my organization focused on little kids, preferably 9 to 12 years old, we want to start off with just coding because that's what, like many people, even people in my generation who don't know anything about computer science, think computer science is. And after taking a couple of classes, I've noticed it's more than just coding. It's like, it's a lot of math, it's a lot of theory, it's a lot about like problem solving. But I think as these kids grow up, and hopefully in the future, we can make change and make computer science education more accessible. Those classes will be able to teach kids who are able to understand more complex topics outside of just coding, and hopefully, yeah, they can worry about that.
Awesome. You spoke very well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sneha. Please welcome Shruti Loganathan. Shruti is a rising senior at West Windsor Plainsboro High School South. She dedicates her free time towards many after-school clubs such as American Sign Language and Academic Decathlon. She advocates for making a difference in her community by working with the Central Food Banks in New Jersey to help prevent poverty and hunger. I'm sure you all feel great. Handing that $20 bill to the homeless person you see on the side of the road. Makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside, right? And don't get me wrong, a good deed is still a good deed. But what about those who haven't fully fallen victim yet? Just because a person has a roof over their head does not mean they are not struggling. Poverty is a line that so many find themselves below every single year, and something that society simply refuses to acknowledge until it gets too bad. Poverty is tied to circumstance, and it is this demoralizing cycle that can trap generations. Most people suffering from this are coasting just below the line, surviving on welfare programs and government assistance. But the second they try to be anything more than what poverty has defined them as, say by getting a job, they immediately become disqualified for these programs and lose any assistance that they would have gained. And let's say that these people have children, elderly that they need to take care of. They not only have more mouths to feed, but they also need to find someone to take care of them while they're out working that job. This can lead to people having less money than what they originally started with, when they were simply surviving on these programs. So you can see why people say poverty traps. One of the biggest money drainers, and one of the biggest symptoms of this, is food. Food is essential to human life, and should be a basic right, a staple in everyone's life. But for over 725,000 New Jerseyans, it's not. Over 125,000 of them are children. And this affects everyone. Parents constantly skip meals in order to feed their children. Seniors have to choose between buying medicine and buying food. And students choose between their education and food all the time. I mean, these are your neighbors, the kids you see skip lunch every single day. Over 8.7% of children in New Jersey are food insecure. And this constantly affects their lives. Constantly being hungry can lead to poor performance academically and in social relationships. And this carries on into adulthood, making these children another victim of poverty and hunger. Chronic malnourishment can also lead to a range of health issues. Constantly being hungry can weaken the immune system, making these people more susceptible to illnesses. Chronic malnourishment also leads to chronic health issues, like hypertension and diabetes. And this is only exacerbated in children. Consistently being malnourished during critical periods of development can lead to cognitive and physical impairments. This means that children who grow up in food insecure households are not only more likely to struggle academically, but are also more likely to face lifelong health issues. There is also a lot of stigma surrounding poverty and hunger. Society tends to view it as a personal ill, rather than the systemic issue that it is. Many people suffering from this, again, are coasting just below the line, and are always working from paycheck to paycheck. never knowing where their next meal will come from or whether they'll make it to the end of the month. There is also a lot of backlash against the use of assistance and these food banks as well. People tend to view it as them being lazy or irresponsible, when in reality, people are constantly working multiple jobs, but they never know where their next meal will come from. Society tends to forget that people are based on their circumstances. While they may not know where their next meal will come from, the least we can do is offer them some support. And this means that as a community, we need to create a judgment-free environment in order for these people to succeed. This is exactly what the Central Food Banks of America tries to accomplish. Addressing hunger is a complex issue, and it goes beyond simply providing food to those who need it most. It means providing nutritious meals consistently. And by doing this, they partner with over 1,000 community partners, such as food banks and soup kitchens and shelters, in order to make sure that these people get the help that they need. By partnering with them, they offer more than 90 million meals annually to help millions of kids and adults of all ages, to help your neighbors, to help the people you see on the side of the street, and to help the people that you don't even see struggling. Many people constantly forget that while society might not be able to view them as human, this organization does. That they don't look on how much you need it, but just that you need it. And that's all that matters to them. They also provide a lot of educational programs for cooking and budgeting and also meal planning to make sure that these people make the most of their resources. It involves taking the first step and getting hand in hand with your community. And that's exactly what they do. They go and they make sure that every person, every community gets the resources that they need. And that it's shame-free, no stigmas associated with it. They also advocate for many policies that support low-income families and ensure breaking the stigma surrounding poverty and hunger. Community involvement is crucial in the fight against hunger. Whether that means volunteering your time, donating your money, or any food that you have in your pantries, every effort counts. And that means taking the first step. That means reaching out and supporting organizations like the Central Food Banks of New Jersey. It is them who work towards rebuilding the relationship that people have with their food. Because unfortunately, from childhood, if you are constantly not having access to food, you will grow up with eating disorders as well. And this affects a lot of people around the world. Eating disorders are nothing to take lightly. It's a serious issue that affects a lot of people. So if we can prevent it, we should. At the end of the day, it is the Central Food Banks of New Jersey who help stitch communities and families back together. At the end of the day, it is them who work towards ensuring that there is a society and a future where people have the chance to live a healthy, hunger-free life. At the end of the day, it is them who help fill the void left by hunger with food, health, and most importantly, hope.
That was an excellent speech. I think the point you made that I think is the most important is that there are many, many hungry people around us, and we don't necessarily know about it. You can't always tell by looking. You know, when you see pictures of starving children in other countries and they ask for donations, the children look like they are near death. We have people who go around every day, go to work, and are really malnourished. I think many people are not eating healthy foods and really are not nourished properly. And anything that these groups can do, and I think they are doing a lot to make sure that that people are properly nourished. I think it's very important. So I'm glad you brought that to our attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much. For our next speaker, we invite Vaishnavi Arcot. Vaishnavi is a freshman at Mother Township High School. She has found a knack for the arts, moving people with her drawings, and ambition for music. When it comes to ambition, Vaishnavi has spent countless hours as a scout in Boy Scouts of America, giving back to and enforcing a clean environment in the communities around her.
No, I don't need to. If you just want to do Let's do this.
A child's life is filled with desires and happiness. You may look back to the time where all you wanted was that new Barbie or Batman toy sitting there on the shelf of a store. Mom, I want it. Mom, I need it. I'm sure all of us have said these at least once in our lifetime. The next thing you know, you're holding that plastic box in your hand as you go home, waiting to open it. At home, you reopen the plastic box with satisfaction and throw it across the room without giving a care in the world. But what about that plastic box that you just threw? It's going to cause a mess to your house, isn't it? But it's not about the house anymore. It's about the earth. How many people do the same thing that you just did, throwing plastic boxes not only in their homes, but outside, in the environment? Even the smallest of things can cause a big damage on our planet. Microplastics are types of plastics that are smaller than 5 millimeters in length. They're about the size of your fingernail. They're formed when bigger pieces of plastics are left in our environment and they get eroded down by the elements, so small that we can't see them, but they're still there, causing harm as I speak. How many of you think about how your food is farmed, or even are thankful for the quality of food we get here in America? That's good, because in some places like China, the Philippines, and Brazil, they're not as lucky because their food grows in a microplastic environment. This leads to less soil fertility because these plastics go into the soil and kill all the mites, larvae, and all the other factors that contribute to its fertility. And without nutrients, populations of people suffer from malnutrition, anti-inflammatory diseases, neurological disorders, and even in some cases, cancer. Horrible, isn't it? Even eating a meal in some of these areas is equivalent of eating a meal here with a plastic spoon, and then eating that plastic spoon along with it. But what do we do? We do nothing. We may post about it on social media and talk about it for a week. But what happens after that week? We return to our plastic lives, using plastic cups, plastic spoons, because they're so easy to use and throw. All of us here has some level of microplastics already in our blood. Think about that plastic cutting board that you use in your home. Every time you strike that knife onto that board, that's just more and more plastic getting accumulated in your cooking. In areas like China, and the Philippines, without plastic protocols, and if they don't know where to properly dispose of it, that's just more and more plastic in their blood. Students who are supposed to be going to school are now trapped behind the white walls of a hospital because of how careless humanity is. But it's not only in our land, it's also in our ocean. These plastics go from the land, then to the streams, then streams to rivers, then rivers to oceans, then oceans to marine life. And from that marine life, it goes back to us, on our plates, as seafood. I experienced this on a first-hand level through the organization Clean Ocean Action, when I was at a beach cleanup. I saw so many shards of plastic among the grains of sand, and I thought to myself, why nobody was batting an eye to this? Nobody was showing concern. Were they lazy, ignorant, or simply just blind? These pieces of plastics were so close to the ocean, the same ocean that we look to, adore at, the same ocean that we spent countless of summers playing in, not knowing what a big garbage pit has become. These plastic pieces go into the small gills of big and small marine animals. And then if it doesn't kill them, it kills us, because we ultimately eat that plastic again. 4 out of 20 brands of canned sardines have already been tested positive for microplastic pollution. And because of this, more than 400,000 people die annually every year because of how careless humanity is. But what do we do? People in communities and coastal towns can raise awareness. For example, Clean Ocean Action has already held press conferences to show the effects that laws have on our environment. The New Jersey's Get Plastic Action has decreased the amount of plastic straws and bags used in supermarkets and around New Jersey. And this has shown a positive effect on our ecosystem. But did you know that there's also plastics in our shampoo and toothpaste? Those fancy words like polyethylene, copolymers, and acrylics are just alternate words for microplastics in our everyday usage items. We should be putting more laws and other actions in place to help people switch to more eco-friendly options. We should also get our younger generations involved into this issue because they are our future problem solvers who will help mitigate the issue of microplastics. For example, we could take them on field trips to the beach, which my school has done in first grade. I remember going to the beach once and having so much fun through my school. There were instructors there who told us about our environment and how humans are constantly affecting the flow of nutrients and plastic in these environments. From there, I walked out of that beach feeling more aware and more connected towards this issue, which is also why I'm talking to you about this today. If we have more cleanups through our schools, if we get our community more involved, we could see less and less plastic being in place on our ecosystems. We could help mitigate this issue. But if we continue to bat a blind eye to microplastics, by 2045, there's going to be more plastic than fish in our oceans. It all starts from opening a simple plastic bottle, a box that held the toy that you so dearly wanted. And just by opening that, you've already damaged the ecosystem. But now it's up to you to properly dispose of it, to stop future consequences. Instead of throwing it into a forest, a beach, or a park, you pick it up from its place. That's one less source of microplastics, one less life lost, and one more cleaner mind.
I'm a vice chair of the Energy and Environment Committee. I don't know if you knew that, in the legislature. We have done a lot of legislation pertaining to these issues. You said we're calling for more legislation. I know the group that you're dealing with. We work with them all the time. We've done loads of bills. I'm a sponsor of the microplastics bill. I was the sponsor of the plastic bags bill that dealt with the issues that you talked about there. And we're doing a lot legislatively, but you're absolutely right about one thing that you said, which is people have to join in and be part of that. They can't try to get around some of the bills, which, you know, I think with the plastic bags bill, I personally think it's been pretty successful, even though I have lots of shopping bags in my living room, because I always forget to bring them into the supermarket and I have to keep buying another one. But other than that, I think it has been very successful, and I think we have cut back on plastic, and it really is a problem. In fact, one time I testified before Congress about microplastics, because we had another bill a few years ago. So we are really working on it. I hope you'll join in and work with it as well, because I know Clean Ocean Action is a very good group. So we started in the right place. Good job.
Thank you.
Let's do the inches that I can go. Thank you.
So before our final speaker for the evening, we would like to invite all the speakers up on stage to get a picture with the senator.
No. Thank you. Thank you. Some more need to come this way.
Can you see if it is balanced?
Yeah.
One more, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Banister. Thank you. Okay. Thanks. Good. That's okay. Let me get my stuff here. No.
Last but not least, we welcome Ritika Bakamantala to the stage. An innovative high school student, Ritika goes to Florence Township Memorial High School, where she is the captain of the basketball team and a passionate artist and musician. She seeks to implement and expand on her proficiency in computer science by creative means and expands these efforts by partaking in her local Girls Who Code chapter.
June 12th, 2016. This is when disaster struck. The sound of gunshots filled the air, and soon screams of sheer terror followed. This is when the Pulse nightclub shootings took place. At the time of this disaster, Raven was a student in high school, and she was still navigating her way through being a freshman. And when the shooting took place, it shook her community hard. It affected her friends, her family, her neighbors, and her community. She noticed that things went dark, and she started asking herself about the power that she had to influence change. And so she turned to a local library, and that's where she discovered Girls Who Code. Here she found a group of like-minded peers, and they came together, and they innovated. They saw coding as a tool, not just simple lines of algorithms, but as a way to spread activism, as a way to spark change. They created a platform where people could come together, victims of the shootings. They could come together and mourn, but move on. Talk about ways that they could maybe implement new solutions to prevent future shootings and disasters, or maybe ways that they were affected by the disaster themselves. And move on, they did. They come back together as a community, stronger than ever. And as inspiring as Raven's story sounds, The reality of computer science and women is not as wonderful. Women take up roughly half of the workforce. But why is it that when it comes to technology, we take up less than a quarter? I experienced this myself when I was a freshman. I entered my first ever computer science class, AP Computer Science Principles. And I was shocked when I walked in and I was only one out of 2 girls in a room of 20 students. Here I discovered a passion for computer science, even though I liked it before. Why? Because computer science is not just code, it's not just lines, it's not just words or simply numbers. It's an art. Computer science is an art of problem solving. And everyone deserves to discover this art. I continued to pursue my passions, and I went on to become an employee at Steamworks Studios, an establishment dedicated to educating students about STEM. Here, I went on to teach many students, and I'm still an employee there today, and I've been teaching for 3 years. However, over the course of 3 years, I've only taught 2 girls. 2 girls in 3 years. So why is that? Why haven't girls been able to discover this art? The very first computer scientist was a woman, believe it or not, and her name was Ada Lovelace. She worked day and night to write the first few lines of code. First, it was Susan B. Anthony. She fought so that we could vote. And then it was Josephine Lowell. And she fought so that we could have equal rights at work. And now, I fight. I fight so that we can continue to code and we can continue to innovate. And that's the mission of Girls Who Code. We want girls to discover this art, this passion. Because when we don't include girls in this conversation, we don't just deprive them of their opportunities, but we deprive ourselves of what the world can be. Because this disparity affects us, not just the technology industry, but also in the healthcare industry, in the education industry, and finance. The Global Economic Center predicts that if we were able to close the gender gap by the end of 2025, we could increase the global GDP by $12 trillion. 12 trillion. So why is it that we continue to not include our mothers, our sisters, our daughters, and our friends? And all it takes is your lips. Spread the word. Let's educate ourselves about how computer science can affect our future. We can encourage them to go out to the local Girls Who Code chapter, and either go there to learn, discover, or spread your own knowledge. And if you choose to donate, you don't just help closing the gender gap, you can help close the digital divide. The digital divide affects the entire world. It's the phenomenon where half of us are unable to have access to technology. This may be due to poverty or homelessness. And we are denying them of their opportunities as well. We all come from different places, different walks of life. We all deserve the opportunity to innovate. Take it from Rachel Sojani, the founder of Girls Who Code. She started out as a congresswoman. When she was running, many people told her that she should change her name because people may not be able to recognize it as easily. She should change it to something like Rita, something that everybody liked. But she didn't. She refused to change her name, and she stayed true to herself, to her own identity. And after losing again and again, she won. Because she stayed true to herself. And this is the principle that Girls Who Code was built upon. It's about finding solutions to the problems in your life that affect you. And it's not just about innovation or statistics. It's about telling a girl that they can, that we can. Everyone had a dream when they were younger. Now think about your dream. And imagine somebody telling you that that dream would never ever come true. Not because of the fact that you lack the skill, but because of your gender. Something that you couldn't even change. This is the reality of many women today. And it's not that hard to change that. It is our job to, as a society to answer the questions that we've been asking. To innovate, to include women in this conversation so that we can unlock a world full of new perspectives and innovations. Because when you encourage women in STEM, you're not just changing their life, you're changing the world, one line of code at a time.
Being a woman who's interested in STEM, what is something that you have faced as a person who's pursuing STEM? What is something that you have faced on a day-to-day basis? In what way you think that the world is not accepting women the way it is supposed to accept? And what are the challenges that you have faced personally?
So, me being a girl, of course, we not just when it comes to STEM, we constantly face backhanded compliments. For example, as a basketball player, when I'm on the court, it's always, you're fast for a girl. Or in the classroom, it might be, you're smart for a girl. And then when it comes to my passion, computer science, it's, you're good at coding for a girl. And this is something that many girls also experience. Because I've talked to many people who are pursuing computer science currently in college at many different universities. And they've all told me that all their classrooms, when it comes to computer science, are full of boys. And I think that really needs to change because even me, I never thought that computer science was an option. Meaning, I always thought like maybe I could pursue something as a doctor because many women in my life have pursued medicine. But when I discovered that coding is not just like writing lines of code, it's finding a solution, I realized that it's something that really anybody can do.
So those are some incredibly inspiring speeches today, and I would like to call for another round of applause for all of our students. Ms. Peter, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Sanjana. Yes, we have been waiting for this event for quite some time, and we have had 13 phenomenal speakers who did make a change, who did demonstrate. I think a couple of them really became emotional. I could see that in them. And some of them were aggressive, passionate, right? You had all kinds of speaking, don't you think so? Yeah. Right? So whenever we go, when I go outside, when you go for a public speaking school, a workshop, or a seminar, or a webinar, or a conference, you always have people come and speak, right? When you go and train, when I train 10 speakers, do this, stand like that, don't say that, do this, right? We have choreographed a lot of things. And most of the time, we always feel that most of them are speaking the same way, right? When you have a bunch of students coming out from a school, a public speaking school, all the 10 or 20 which they speak the same way, but today you found something different, right? You have 13 different types of speaking, which is probably their true style. Some of them are the aggressive ones, some of them are the passionate ones, some of them are the emotional ones. So this is something that we like to dig in deeper to find out who we are, how we can express our authentic self, and showing that authenticity is what made the magic today. And really big round of applause. And now is the time where we are heard, we are inspired, And I really need to thank each and every one of you who are here to support not only our nonprofit organizations who are there. Please go and take a look. They're doing phenomenal work, each and every one of them. And we have the 13 nonprofit organizations that our students have represented as well. Now it is a time to celebrate. Are you ready? Yes. Now we have the award ceremony. We have a lot of exciting things happening. I think our tech team has planned something super new today. So people who have come here multiple times, you are in for a treat. So let us begin the awards.
First up, we have Sonia Anand. Vaishnavi Arcot. Ritika Bhagamantala. Sneha Varga. Vishaka Brasnet. Sahasra Chikapalli. Johan Deshpande. Jacob Cunero. Nishi Korean. Shruti Loganathan. And Vishnu Dalton. Congratulations, everyone. Another round of applause.
And now we welcome Enfluences. It is the biggest milestone. It's a very hard journey because it's not easy to think about others and pursue a life for others, and that is what we are going to be doing from now on, and that is whom we call as influencers. I would like to call upon our senior, I would say the trainers of Inspire Academy. We call them the Certified Inspire Academy trainers. We have a step-by-step way through which we build leadership. So far we have seen that they have learned, they have been in a classroom, they have understood what confidence is all about, how to communicate and how to demonstrate leadership. Now they are going to be practicing it in real life. And that is going to happen right after Enfluence. They have already demonstrated a little bit of leadership, and then they move on to showcasing it on an everyday basis, which is a very hard journey. I would like to call upon the Certified Inspire Academy trainers. We have many of them, but today we have Sriram and Dhruti. They will be doing the swearing in. We also have our another seed, Arna, who will be on stage. We usually have this ceremony of swearing in. After speaking at Enfluence, they get a privilege. The privilege of wearing our t-shirt. We don't give our t-shirts just for free. They have to work super hard. And now they have the light blue, and then there is a dark blue, which everybody is craving to wear. So we will have, so let us call upon Sriram, Dhruti and Arnav on stage.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dhruti Kamarasu. We are Certified Inspire Academy trainers, which we call ourselves SEAT. We have this privilege after being specifically selected among those who have completed a leadership track after presenting our TED Talk at our prestigious Inspired event in 2020.
All these wonderful speakers that you heard from today are now officially influencers and have the privilege of wearing these wonderful shirts that they'll all be getting. And this is the first step on their leadership track, and it's going to open the doors for new opportunities and even greater responsibilities.
We're so happy to have you and move on to the next step and the next stage. It's really a pleasure to have you join this influencer program, and we're really excited to see how far you guys can go.
So let us welcome the influencers. so much. Now you have a lot of work to do. But right now we'll allow you to celebrate. Now we have the next round. Now, every year, you know, we do a lot of things to improve our community. One such event is Sway. Speak, write, and express yourself. A contest created by influencers for improving the communication skills of the society. So every year we have a coordinator and we have an associate coordinator as well. And these experiences are going to help them demonstrate leadership. You know how hard it is to host a small party at home, how much of effort it takes. Then hosting a wedding is at a different level. Sway is 10 times bigger than that. And these influencers sit together and execute the full-fledged national level communication contest every year. So we have this ceremony where our previous 2023-24 Enfluence coordinators, I'll call them, we have Urja and Dhyani. So they will be introducing, they have gone through, they have been the real leaders, and they are here to announce who the next Enfluence, the Sway coordinators are going to be. So welcome.
First of all, both Diani and I would like to say thank you once again to the entire Inspire team who worked so hard to make Sway a success this year.
We saw so much support and it was really hard to come down to a final decision.
So this year, there will be, actually, next year, technically, we will have 2 Sway coordinators, and our associate coordinator for Sway 2025 is Sunny. And our lead coordinator for Sway 25 is Pradeep.
So congratulations. Again, a lot of hard work. We give them the awards and get more work from them. This is exactly what we do. That's what corporate America is all about, right? We're already preparing them for corporate America. Now, yes, we have the last bit of our celebration. Can you guess what it is? Exactly. You see a cake. See, they're very observant. We have this is more a ritual. We started several years back where we have a specific way we cut our Enfluence cake. Yes, it's different and none of them know it. So let me get the seat and let me get all the influencers, the senior influencers who have been instrumental in making this event such a success. Each and every one of them deserve to be on this stage, right from every person, right from the registration desk to photography, to tech team. Without our tech team, don't you think our tech team did a phenomenal job today? They were awesome, each and every one of them making sure they were here till 9 p.m. yesterday. So I would like everyone to come up there. Yes? They deserve the stage. Yes. We need one replacement photographer for today. We need Srinidhi on stage. She has been working so hard. If anybody can, Srinidhi, somebody's there to help you. Thank you so much. And now And our 2022-23 beneficiary, My Goal Inc., had supported us, our students. They have worked with them, and it was a phenomenal success. And they want to express how much they love what they did. So I would like to call upon, yes, go ahead.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Genevieve Kumokwe, and I'm the founder of My Goal Inc., an organization that supports families facing autism and intellectual disabilities throughout their lifespan. We've been around for 16 years. I'm blessed that I'm, by profession, I am a pharmacist and have been working with cancer patients. But when life happens and my son Nicholas was diagnosed, it made it a requirement on my heart to make sure that other families have support. So we provide education, we do outreach, we do grants, we have an international component to our program in Ghana, West Africa, where we have students. We do STEAM, which is science, technology, arts, and math, as part of our programming. In my daughters, I'm blessed, one of them actually works for a big pharma as a biomedical engineer. And the youngest one just graduated from South Brunswick High School as a computer science at NJIT. So I'm sitting here hearing all of you guys doing such an amazing job, and I'm incredibly very, very proud of all of you as influencers. What has occurred here is phenomenal, and the work that you're doing is incredible. What you may think is just a TED Talk is more than that. Because when you get into that room where you have to demonstrate your value, and I love the commentary that says, you know, you did great, but as a girl. You're going to see that everywhere. And so my life is incredibly busy, but I sat here for the 3 hours because I wanted you to know how valued you are. And I just wanted to thank Ms. Priya for this amazing work. Why don't we give her a round of applause? All the parents in here. No. I get to precept, what we call precept, teach pharmacy students through Rutgers University. And in that job and in our work, our goal always is to ensure that people come in confident and competent. And what I saw here was competency at the highest level. So congratulations. It doesn't matter how you think you did absolutely wonderful. So we wanted to recognize Inspire Academy and Ms. Priya for the work that you're doing. So we had a gala event at the Pines Manor back in November last year, but unfortunately we were not able to connect. So we had created an award to recognize them for the work that you're doing because it goes beyond the shores. So when I tell you that people are seeing your work, one of the organizations that got recognized this year, Mercy and Love Foundation, is actually a colleague of mine. And so it just goes to tell you that you are out there, and so congratulations. So this award just says from my goal, and it's to it recognizes the Inspire Academy as our 2023 My Goal Autism Hall of Fame supporter for your outstanding dedication to individuals with autism. I tell you, when you have a child that's diagnosed and you're walking the journey, it could be incredibly difficult. However, when you have people like you who believe and who are passionate and who want to do above and beyond, it's incredible. So for the parents who are dedicated and committed to supporting your loved ones, these ones are going to surprise you, and they're going to continue to be a blessing to your families. And so we just wanted to acknowledge you and say thank you for the work you do. For all of you, for the work you do, for Sway, all the work that you guys are doing, congratulations. I wanted to say thank you. So thank you again for having us, and we appreciate your support. Thank you for the donations. I want to say that the donations go to support. So over the past 15 years, we've given out over $100,000 to families across the continental United States. So the donation you gave us this year is actually going to award 25 families an amount of $25,000. And that's what our organization does. So thank you for making that a reality for us. Thank you so much.
Taking the time to come here and enlighten each and every one of us about what you do. So thank you. You do the phenomenal work. We keep talking about my goal, and we are continuing to support you all too. Thank you very much.
I would like to say thank you to each and every one, parents, friends, family, for coming out here and supporting these wonderful speakers. Thank you to the speakers for putting in so much effort
Miss Prius. Oh my god. That camera. Everywhere there's something. You're walking around. I know. It's good. It's going good. Whenever you want. I want it now. Okay, I'll come back. You know, I was like, I'll be there for Inspire. Yeah. Yeah. I was here. So how was things on the bike? They're all dance is good, school is good, internship is good, everything's going smoothly. Yeah. We're on vacation. I know, so super excited.
Why are you really?
Right. Sorry. So we're looking for that.
Oh, like actually.
I like the old.
You're done.
But my name is great. Right here.